Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, welcome. My name is Nada Hassan. I'm an artist and a big supporter of Dearborn Open Mic. Let me introduce Dearborn Open Mic to you for those who's first time here. Dearborn Open Mic is a safe place where artists and thinkers can express themselves freely in a friendly gathering. Whether you are a beginner or a professional, everyone is welcome here and highly encouraged to participate. Dearborn Open Mic meets every third Wednesday of the month at the Arab American National Museum Library in Dearborn, Michigan, from 7 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. So please join us if you're around the area. And if you'd like to participate, please sign up at dearbornblog.com, and you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, everywhere. It's easy to find us. dearbornblog.com. Excuse me. Today we have a great line of speaker and excuse me. We have a great line of speaker, artists, and musicians. We also have space for open mic. So if you like to write, even if it's your first time, we really highly encourage you to do so. Please sign up on the sheet over there, and we can pass it around. And we'll have space for open mic before the music section. I want to thank you all for being here today. We are here to support local artists and intellectuals who happen to be Arab Americans. We are here to support them, but we are here because we cannot be back home. Home is for us because we happen to be Arab Americans, whether it's Lebanon or Palestine or Iraq or Yemen, because we have left our country. And I don't know if we are fortunate or unfortunate that we live here now. We are definitely fortunate and grateful for this country and what it has provided for us. But it's unfortunate that we left home because it could not provide us with basic human rights in order for us to stay there and raise our kids there. Because of all the chaos, the corruption and pollution and carelessness of the very dear politicians who have been clinging on with their claws and fangs to their chairs for over 30 years without making a difference for our country, but only paralyzing it and us with it. Today marks the 35th day of the Lebanese Revolution. For the first time in Lebanon's history, people are standing up and speaking up against injustice with no fear. Today in Lebanon, in Iran, and in Iraq, people are standing up, and all they want is their basic human rights. And it is not their job to come up with a plan or an alternative to the corrupt regime. Human rights should be given and not begged for. From here, from Dearborn, Michigan, to the revolting people of Lebanon, to Iraq, to Yemen, to Palestine, to Syria, and every country struggling for justice, we send you our love and support, and we tell you, please, please keep going, and we are very humbled by your perseverance and power. Please do not give up, so we can one day come back to our country, to our home, to the warmth of the sea, to the smell of jasmine, to our grandma's freshly baked bread, to our grandfather's little dikene. Please keep fighting, so if we cannot come back, maybe one day we can tell our kids to go back home and live the life that we once had with our loved ones. Maybe one day I can apologize to the cedar tree and the Mediterranean Sea that I have left unwillingly. Please help us come back. And while we are here today, the least we can do is support our people back home. While we are here, let's make the best of our time. Let's get together, invite your friends and loved ones to join us here at Dearborn Open Mic and enjoy a lovely evening of arts, music, and poetry. Our first talk for tonight is by the title Trans Revolution, Syria in the Hearts of the Diaspora by Professor Hani Bawardi. Dr. Hani Bawardi is an associate professor of history in the Department of Social Sciences and principal member of the Center of Arab American Studies at the University of Michigan, Dearborn. He is the author of The Making of Arab Americans from Syrian Nationalism to U.S. Citizenship. Please help me welcome Dr. Hani Bawardi.
Good evening, Masaikum al-Khair. It's good to be with you tonight. I think Nada did a great job in setting the tone for my comments tonight. I decided to abandon my notes, and it doesn't mean I'll be shooting from the hip. This is the fruits of about 10 years of research. The aspirations that Nada expressed, which speak for all of our aspirations regarding going back to a homeland of ours, has been in the making, or basically unfolded about 100 years ago or over 100 years ago. So what's happening right now in Lebanon, in Iraq, in fact, the Arab Spring, which seems to be in hiatus right now, is a sort of picking up the slack where we left off right after World War I. I'll be throwing a lot of information and dates at you. Some will sound familiar. Others will be brand new to you. So namely that after World War I, the British and the French got together even before the war ended and decided to chop up the Levant between them. Sykes-Picot Agreement. I'm sure you've heard about that. And our aspirations, as expressed by Nada, as expressed by all of us at times, have been in suspension since that time. So my talk tonight will be about breathing life into our view of history as we know it, as we learned it from our parents and grandparents, about a Syria for all of us, a Syria that expands from the Taurus Mountains in the north, at the borders of Turkey, all the way to the Sinai in the south, and from the Mediterranean in the west, all the way to the Syrian Iraqi desert in the east and Arabian desert in the southeast. All of that is Syria, our Syria, inclusive of Lebanon, inclusive of Palestine, Jordan, which did not exist at the time, and Syria proper. I'm going to sound like a Suri Qawmi. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. What does it matter? In fact, Palestine, where my parents were born and raised, for a time was known as Southern Syria, Syria al-Janubiyya. So we cannot forget these things. We cannot forget who we are and what events unfolded that kind of put our aspirations for a homeland into remission for this long. So this all is a reminder that, the Syria we left behind was one contiguous cultural unit, Bilad al-Sham, as the Muslims called it. It has within it Arabic-speaking people, including Armenians, who were welcomed and made the place their home, Kurds, Christians and Muslims of all denominations, and even Jewish people who lived there in peace. And if you went there in the 19th century, you could not tell a Palestinian from a Jew or a Syrian from a Jew. In fact, large Jewish communities still live in Damascus and elsewhere as Arabs. We're not giving those guys up either. We lost the ones who lived in Iraq because of Zionism. So we'll get to Zionism also. So I have a lot of documents, so I'm going to do like a little show and tell. So they are in protective sleeves. You're welcome to examine them. I'll pass them along to kind of commensurate with my comments about different stages of Syria's development or lack thereof. Our development went into remission because of colonialism. So our grand and great grandparents awakened to an age of colonialism that basically sent them into the diaspora. And here we are in the diaspora, hoping ever since for a homeland, a place we called Syria. Now, Syria, we attach it to the country of Syria, but I will be sharing reminders of you that we're all, at one point, if you came from any part of proper Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine and Jordan, you identified yourself as a Syrian. The reason why I'm not actually, this is not an ideology I'd like to kind of spread around. This is a historical fact. This is no challenge to Lebanese national identity at all, or Palestinian national narrative at all. But this is the foundation, the grandfather of those, liberation movements as we know them today, for reforms. In fact, the word reforms was at the tip of the tongue of every living Levantine Arabic-speaking person during the period. They all fell in line behind the need for reforms. Their first concern was to get rid of the regression brought about by the decline of the Ottoman Empire, which was like a very slow, painful process that lasted about 200 years or so. During that time, the Ottoman Empire fell prey to European ambitions, and they imposed what is called capitulations, or economic treaties that were enforced upon them. They created the millet system, as if we needed them to do that. Behind all these, concessions that they made to the Europeans, there was French colonial designs. This is all under French and British pressure, who went to the Sultan, made the deal with the Sultan in order to make sure that they gained a foothold where? Around the area of Beirut. So there was a large Christian population there, Maronites, which is an offshoot of Catholicism. Most of those guys were nationalists. You could not tell them apart from the general population. Very few became Anglophiles, which was fine, until the French began to claim that their support justified French colonial claims, namely that they said to the world, hey, these are a few Christians in a sea of Muslims. We're going to protect them, and we're needed there for that purpose. Very soon, Zionism made the same argument. So we have a Christian population in Lebanon, and there is a Jewish population in Palestine in a sea of Muslims, and we need the help of the West. Of course, these were exaggerations. Nothing could be further from the truth. Nevertheless, they wreaked their havoc. So around the Mutasarrifiyya of Beirut, Mutasarrifiyya is an Ottoman term, something akin to county or so. So around the county of Beirut, they kind of drew an arbitrary line. They said, okay, this will be Lebanon. Within that line, the majority of the population were Muslims. That did not matter to them. Eventually, it yielded the confessional system in Lebanon, which is the reason why young people are out in the street saying, screw that, basically. We don't identify as Shiites, Sunnis, Muslim, Christian, this and that. We are Lebanese. And that became the basis for their calls for reform, among other things. So those immigrants who came here, and in contravention of what you might hear in the discourse on Arab American studies, so there are several layers to this introduction that will be challenging settled accounts of our history in this country. I think I'll glean over those, otherwise we'll be here for a while. So let me tell you from the get-go that this presentation flies in the face of and is beginning to change our conception of who we are in this country. What baggage do we bring with us? How do we identify? I can tell you definitively, based on research, that the immigrants who came here identify themselves as Arab, Syrian, and whatever else later. If it was important for them to be Orthodox Christian, so be it, Sunni, Shi'i, whatever. But they were Arabs, Arab Syrians, and they wanted Syria's independence. These are two major arguments that kind of fly in the face of very fragmented and nascent Arab American studies. Actually, I refer to Arab American studies as a 50-year-old infant. To make a long story short, after 1967, after 1965, in fact, immigration doors opened up. You have people seeking, college education. Many of those became politicized after 67 of all, national backgrounds, and they commenced Arab American studies. And so, one way I could have introduced this whole talk is through observations I have in this very museum we're sitting in. Right upstairs on the wall, it says that until 1967 and the Arab-Israeli War, there were no Arab American political organizations. Still on the wall, by the way. So this presentation basically challenges that, as though we should as scholars, and builds on it at the same time. So we're building on the social research studies that were instigated by all kinds of nationalized Arabs after 1967 to quantify our experience in this country. I'm not dismissive of it. But what I'll be sharing with you today is 4 major formal political organizations, whereas the most scholars would tell you is that those were primary group affiliations like village and clans with loose connections, but they lacked national identity. They were not self-aware. Nothing could be further from the truth, as you know. So, in fact, upstairs, some time ago, there was, I think it's still on display, a robe belonging to a guy named Khalil Totah. And right across from that robe, there was a picture of a merchant in a grocery store wearing like a white apron named Amin Farah. And it said that this guy owned a grocery store and that guy is a graduate from Columbia. Between those two, there is 50 years of relentless, nonstop, formal political advocacy for Syria and all the events that that advocacy yielded, like advocacy for Palestine proper, or for Lebanon, or for Syria proper. That history is what's missing completely from the discourse. And this is what we will be talking about very, very briefly. And please don't be annoyed if I glean over a lot of dates and pictures here. So the very first example of this political mobilization is this unassuming pamphlet, actually, is the bylaws of the Free Syria Society, founded in 1915. And to the best of my knowledge, I think it was modeled after the bylaws of Al-Arabi al-Fatat. Al-Fatat was an anti-Ottoman society, very secret, very large, very effective, and to this day we don't even know its members. It may have been printed in Egypt or in the American presses here in the United States. I'm not sure. I need to do some forensic investigation. But that became basically the principal roadmap towards an independent Syrian state in all parts of Syria, greater Syria, 1915. And among its members, and I didn't bring those documents, I'm kind of protective of them. I actually couldn't even find them. That's how protective I am of them. But you've heard of the name Mikhail Naimi, some of you. He's a close friend of Gibran. One time, actually, a roommate of Gibran was a member of the society. So was Nasib Arida, and maybe tacitly Gibran himself. So it was founded in Flint, Michigan, about 170 miles from here to the north, by Amin Farah. And this is Amin Farah's. I'm going to pass those around. You can look at them. Please do return them, This is one of the rare, actually, documents I have. This is a conscription book belonging to Amin Farah when he was conscripted into the Ottoman army. You've heard of Safar Berlik? So Safar Berlik was actually forcible conscription for people to fight in the Balkans, and that's where they died. Actually, I hear that my grandfather died that way. He was a young person, fought in the Balkans. When he arrived back in Nazareth, he died at his doorsteps. So. And that is Ottoman script, by the way. I have a few documents with Ottoman. You can read it probably, Michael, but it's like reading Pig Latin, to be a little bit obnoxious to Turks, I guess. So this is Arabic, Ottoman Turkish, written with Arabic alphabets, which is a dead language. I couldn't find anyone who can read it comfortably and translate it for me. So I had to read it as best as I can and have someone translate what it said. That's basically how effective this, Europeanization has been in Turkey proper. So the Free Syria Society did what it can to kind of galvanize support around the cause of Syria itself. In 1923, something very serious happened. So in 1917, in fact, the Balfour Declaration was issued promising a national home for the Jews in Palestine. That triggered all Syrians into action. They sprung into action. I have specific examples of a few people, one from the area of Baalbek, one from Marja'iyun, one from Hama, and one from Palestine, who were part of this. And also, one of the founders of this early organization is Abdul Hamid Shoman. If you've heard the name before, he's the founder of the Arab Bank, a very successful bank. He was here dabbling into grocery business or whatever. So they got together, they founded what is called the Palestine National League, as part of the Syrian movement, by the way, as a response to the Balfour Declaration. The Palestine National League lasted for a while. They were able to send back about $25,000 in aid for beleaguered countrymen. Things were really bad after World War I, by the way, in all parts of Syria. But they were really worried about this partitioning, which became international law. So what happened is that Sykes-Picot Agreement, if that sounds familiar, French zone of influence and French direct control in the north, in Syria and Lebanon proper, and part of northern Iraq, and then British direct control and British sphere of influence to the south of that. The idea was to connect the Mediterranean with the Arabian Gulf, or the Persian Gulf, if you will. This way, the Europeans will have a way to reach their wealthy and important colonies in the Far East. Yeah, so it was well planned. So after World War I, the Balfour Declaration promising the establishment of a national home for the Jews in Palestine, as long as they don't disturb the existing population. This is, clear example of British chicanery, basically. The Brits are tricksters, basically. They can play with words. They can write something and mean something else. In any case, that was the start of our problems, because it signaled to the Zionists that they can go to Palestine and settle. Yeah. So that was written into international law, along with the Sykes-Picot Agreement. So in San Remo Agreement, Lebanon became, this as the French hoped it would be, became a country, although it did not become completely independent until much later, 1944, 46, depending on who you ask. Same for Syria, Jordan, even a little bit, a couple of years later. They call that the mandate system, Wasaya, mandate system. That became international law, and the Balfour Declaration. They sat on us, basically, for the interwar period. During that time, the Syrians revolted in the Shuf Mountains, in all parts of Syria. They had an uprising against the French and bumped back with effect, led by Sultan al-Atrash, who was a Druze prince. Yeah. As a result of that, the immigrants here on this side of the ocean started aid efforts to help their countrymen, which culminated in the creation of, this is the first organized aid effort since World War I. They had a lot of those. But now you have Syria as the objective, as collectively, for humanitarian aid, which later became the boilerplate for organized political activity. So let me circulate this around. So you can see that it was centered in Highland Park near Detroit, Michigan, in Arabic, in the upper right corner. Also in English, great. On the other side is the 3-month report of the activities of the New Syria Party. So this Syrian Wounded Veterans Relief Committee became the New Syria Party. So the Palestine National League fell in line behind this organization, and those guys were able to send $3.5 million in today's money in aid for their countrymen. Again, don't start reading the whole thing. If you can read Arabic, that is. So this was a major political effort. Those guys had chapters all over the country, were highly organized, very effective. And that was our first lobbying Arab American group. So one can digress and talk about structural integration. This is really important because if you belong to a PTA, if you belong to a union or an organization like this, you're actually inching closer towards integration into U.S. society. Yeah? And that is the start of an effort that will bring us very close to the center of power in this country. That will run its course by World War II, as I will share with you in a minute. So, and this is the New York chapter of the New Syria Party. So, the Palestine National League then went into action on behalf of Syria as part of the New Syria Party. The same people, by the way, could not tell them apart. And then the Great Depression hit, 1929 to 1939. Things were really rough. In between, another uprising took place, actually a revolution. So the Great Syrian Revolution, 1925, was put down by 1927. We're no match for the Europeans. I mean, one French division will have more firepower than all Arab armies put together. We're under occupation. You have to understand that. In the interwar period, the Zionist groups, the gangs in Palestine, were doing their worst and building weapons factories underground with Polish support and Eastern European support, massive support. So they had about 70 to 80,000 people under arms, well armed, by the way. So that we should not lose sight of that. And the Palestinians fell on really hard time. They could not get jobs. The peasants were squeezed out of their jobs. And then they revolted. 1936. They had a strike that lasted for 11 months, devastated Palestinian economy. But that's when Izzuddin al-Qassam was killed by the British, if you've heard the name before. By the way, Izzuddin al-Qassam, just to give you an idea about the connectedness of all of Syria, is Syrian, not Palestinian. But he became the premier martyr for the Palestinians at the time. So during that time, the same people organized themselves and established what is called the Arab National League. 1936, as a response to the Palestinian revolt. New Syria Party, Syrian revolt, 1925. The Arab National League, a response to the revolt in Palestine in 1936. The Arab National League, and I can make this statement very comfortably, had a minimum of 15,000 members per capita, making it by far the largest Arab American grassroots organization. Yeah. This is a big statement because it was a formal organization, fairly sophisticated. It issued a lot of pamphlets to raise public awareness about Syria in general and the Palestinians' problem in Palestine. And began to lobbying effort systematically, that is to say, letter writing. They had 4 national conventions. By 1939, something very important happened that basically cemented Arab American identity as you know it today. So, upstairs in the museum, and not to detract from the importance of this place, is a wonderful space. I bring my students here, and every guest I get, we end up here very often. We're proud of the museum, but the information, of course, evolves and always stands some improvement and updating, right? So, whereas upstairs it says on the wall to this day that, until 1967, there were no Arab American political organizations. Now you heard about 3 of them, right? But here is the critical part in terms of identity development for Arab Americans. There is something in immigration studies called Anglo-conformity, or the melting pot. The melting pot, we use it uncritically, that term. I don't like it very much because you basically have to mutate into something you are not in order to fit in against an Anglo model. You have to be as white as possible, but as we know, we cannot be white enough. This is the essence of racism in this country. Although some of the Syrian immigrants squeaked by, they looked white enough, and based on their merit, and they actually, one of those court cases, they argued, hey, Jews are white in your eyes, and they're Semites. We're Semites, therefore we must be white. This is one of the arguments that were used at the time. Nevertheless, Anglo-conformity kind of ran its course. This is around World War I. 100% Americanism. You have to give up who you are in order to become this new creature, an American creature. Yeah. There was something called cultural pluralism. We credit Horace Callan with that. I give the credit to the person who came up with this concept and developed it. His name is Amin Rihani. He is a founding member of Al-Rabita Al-Qalamiyya, or the Pen Bond, in 1916, which was relaunched again in 1920. Amin Rihani wrote a booklet called Letters to Uncle Sam. And he told the government, hey, I'm your downtrodden son, don't forget about me. I'm loyal to this country. And he actually recruited more people to fight in World War I than anyone else, by the way. And Arab Americans sold more war bonds in both world wars per capita than any other immigrant group. More Arab Americans served in World War I per capita than any other immigrant group, by the way. And they did not do it for citizenship. They wanted to kick the Ottomans behind and free Syria. That was their motivation. But the new concept, the emergent concept at the time of cultural pluralism, found its way in the sun around World War II. I'm still trying to describe how we became Arab Americans. In the context of political activities within, as members of the Arab National League. Cultural pluralism says that you can remain Syrian, Arab, Jordanian, Polish, Italian, Russian, and still be American. By then you have, structural integration was full swing. People served in both world wars. Their kids went to school and then to college, and they belonged in unions. I mean, they forged a life here, but they didn't want to give up who they are regarding their heritage. They did not want to give up their heritage attachment. But now after World War II, the Americans basically, the hostility between Protestants and Catholics, which was very, very violent, kind of began to dissipate somewhat. Catholics, Protestants, and Jews began to get along. And Arab Americans in the Fourth National Convention of the Arab National League in September of that year, because World War II started in Europe, Germany invaded Poland in September. During the convention, they said, okay, this is getting really serious. We have to make up our minds and define our identity on our own terms. So they began to talk of themselves as Arab Americans. In the Fourth National Convention of the Arab National League in Flint, Michigan, a young lawyer stood up. His name is Yusuf, and he said, I am a proud Arab, but I'm also a citizen of this country. And a visiting dignitary, actually, two visiting dignitaries, really important people who died that same weekend in a car crash. Khalil al-Sheikh and Mufarraj, I forget his first name, the other fellow. He commented that I am really impressed with you that you are Arab Americans, not merely Arabs in America. That was a birthing moment for Arab American identity. 1939, September, which was in the making for years, not 1967. Yeah. So if we can agree on that, we have a lot to build on. And our demands, I mean, the plea you heard from Nada still stands, that we still yearn to a country of our own. I hope it's still all of Syria, not just part of it. So Arab Americans began to think pragmatically, and they said, okay, World War II started, they suspended operations, and they joined the war effort. Again, they fought for this country. And after the war, they wanted to reap the benefit of this, victory of World War II, and they established what's called the Institute of Arab American Affairs. The Institute of Arab American Affairs, founded in 1944 by more or less the same people, sought to represent U.S. interest in the Middle East. Yeah, those guys really had a stake in this country. That organization was large, sophisticated, issued many papers on Palestine, criticized Zionism as a focus, and had within its members Kermit Roosevelt, the grandson of Theodore Roosevelt himself, but also William Hawking, a Harvard philosopher, very famous guy. Even the Arab National League had within its ranks, a lot of dignitaries, including Eliyahu Grant, a very famous archaeologist. So those guys became integrated in American life and began to have a say in foreign policy, so to speak. However, Zionism was actually gaining in power, and the Zionists were able to pull off the establishment of their state in Palestine with American support. So we had a double whammy, which kind of repeats itself. I don't know how much time I have, Wissam. I don't want to overshoot my time. 3 minutes? Okay. So they began to... So what happened since that time is that Arab Americans had the rug pulled from under their feet. World War II, the start of World War II, considering that they had a very large, organized Arab American organization speaking in their name, right, faced a dilemma. World War II started. We cannot keep fighting the French and the British, the colonizers, when they are US's allies in World War II. So they suspended their operation. When we emerged after World War II as proud Americans, the inertia of the wars, we figured maybe we can get, score some gains here and speak for Palestine. Zionism transferred the operation of its center, the center of its operations, from England to New York in what is called the Biltmore Conference, and made establishment of a state, their state, the state as they see it, in Palestine, their primary focus. That actually was not the start, but that's when the pressure on Arab Americans who are politically active began to intensify and never relented. So the Institute of Arab American Affairs lasted until 1950, survived the establishment of Israel in Palestine, but barely. And their support dried up. And they sent out a communication saying, look, people who give us money give, in mortal fear for their livelihood. We have to suspend our operations, citing lack of support at the time. But the pressure against them was immense because they were headquartered in New York. And their numbers were minuscule compared to the numbers of Jewish Americans, most of whom opposed Zionism. But after news of the Holocaust spread, it became impossible to do that. And they fell in line behind the Zionist aims. And that was the end of a huge chapter in Arab American life, which established our identity, but also charted a path towards integration and formal, organized political activity. Our challenge here to kind of see to fruition our aspiration in Syria is to build on those gains, find a way to bridge the gap. And what we're dealing with is a very expansive period during which immigration was severed from 1924 based on racist quota system all the way to 1965. That's why, although I critique that statement on the wall upstairs, and which is taken from the works of those Arab American scholars, it is important to leave behind these lost years after 1948 and began to build on firm grounds once more to the end of going back to Syria one day. Thank you.
Just as a show of hands, who has questions or comments for Dr. Bawardi? Do you have one question? Anyone? You have a question? Anyone has questions? Because I feel that we probably will need another session. We probably need another session just for discussion, Doctor. So if you don't mind me, I would like to invite you on December the 3rd, Wednesday, if you're here. We'll confirm the time, to have a full speaker time, just a discussion with Dr. Bawardi. Because I know you have questions, they're valuable. It's a very condensed talk, has a lot of information. So we're promising you that we'll have a whole session with Dr. Bawardi, hopefully next month, if not in an upcoming session, just for discussion over this topic. The video will be online, so we'll have more people invited to discuss it directly with Dr. Bawardi. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bawardi. That was great. And hopefully one day we will go back and stay here willingly if you want to. We normally have the visual art section after the speech, but unfortunately our young artist could not make it today. So we're going to skip ahead to our featured poet, Michael Fawaz. Fawaz is a native of Dearborn and a young professional living and working in Detroit. He's the grandson of Lebanese immigrants. He writes poetry and prose to quell the tempest and passions that arrived with life and unset at the question of one's worth and purpose. A literary enthusiast, he scours classical works from every era and region of the planet in search of a tune, a vibration, a frequency that stirs the silent places we all have, that engages intimate conversation. The culmination of his search is this art. Please welcome Michael Fawaz. And I received a note that he's very humble, and he probably won't share his work, but you can follow him on Instagram at coffeeshop_hero.
Thank you very much, Nada. How's everybody doing tonight? Great. Well, I performed once at the museum before, and one of the pieces I did had a very good response, so I'll start with that one. I think you guys might like it. It has to do, a lot of this work that I have here can be related back to sort of what Hani was talking to, but in a sort of a my generational way. It's a longing, it's a yearning, an Arab American experience, and wondering what it is that we possibly are missing out on, and trying to meditate on that as good as well as I can. So this one is called Imagine. Imagine fasting. Imagine a state of embodied softness, molten being, total eclipse, grace. Imagine floating in a busy world, a white dove amongst pigeons on the power lines, with not so much as a grain of Egyptian rice beyond the weightlessness of air. A feather weighed against a heart, and a feather the same. Imagine peace and enmity and open doors and a harnessing of silence, still silence, silence, silence. Silence is my adhan on American city streets. Drifting alone and working on no coffee and no sleep. But I do have universal energy, and I do have remembrance, and remembrance is dear, my friend, my sweetheart, and I remember it all. I remember a time when somewhere in the suburbs under green trees and white fences there was Fawziyah with her wrinkled smile, a darkly discolored left cheek, her embrace a valley to rest you in. And every day without fail she would leave the squeaking old rust-white side door unlocked, open. Ahla wa sahla, she would tell me, smiling. Ahla wa sahla. Let them come. Let them take what they will. I've been a dura in the barad, and every night at 9 I'm shy. So let them come. I remember how every day on the handle of that white door she left for them a grocery bag with fresh bread tied by a twisting grocer's string. Ahla wa sahla. Imagine remembering this was not the very same thing as remembering God. Ahla wa sahla. All they do is gasp when I tell them no food, no water, while the sun can be seen. They say they could never do it, but I can't even remember what hunger feels like, and my thirst is quenched in knowing the only thing I want is to welcome a thief like my kin, arms wide and shouting, take the keys, take the bed, take my prized golden Ali safe and my Nazar collection and every watch I bought for nothing, and go on, take the Gibran off my wall, souls flying before the face of the infinite. I carried it home across the seas, and now you're here, take it. Can you reach it, brother? Can I carry you? I am emptied. Don't you know I am emptied? I am a man without a caravan and without possessions. Take the windows, take the roof. How sweet is the emptiness of the sky this evening. All of it I hoarse in the lowest voice, bereft of strength. And when the thief wearies from the load, I will say to him, there's banadura in the barad and bread on the door. And when the sun sets tonight, I'm making shy. I'm making ahwi. Ahla wa sahla. Thank you. So, born and raised in Dearborn. I now live in Detroit. A lot of my experiences and a lot of the people that are in my life just so happen to be Arab Americans. And all of my extended family is very large. I'm from the south of Lebanon, so almost all of us left in the 40s and 50s to get the kid out of the crazy mess that was going on that Dr. Bawardi told you guys a little bit about. So a lot of us have been here. I'm second generation myself. And so when more Arabs came later, a lot of times they would be integrated into our family, marry into our cousins and things like that, and they would be, fresh off the boat. So that was something that you would often experience here in Dearborn. And when you do that, when you do see that, there's a difference between you and them that you try to do your best to absorb and feel that kind of like homeland. And then when they themselves kind of reject it, you become confused. So this one is called At What Cost? When I was young, my cousin married Muhammad from Baalbek. Big, strong, dumb, and happy in his newness, English scarce as was his caution, and always red-faced. He would exclaim fiercely, I am from the rock! 14 years passed, and they have a comfortable suburban life, 3 children all in school. He works his own mechanic shop on Detroit's west side. At a party, I grab his rough hand for the debke, and he pulls it away. With pale face, he says to me, I forget the debke. His English improved. I forget Baalbek. Okay, so this is a bit longer. I hope you will admonish me. It's called Do the Gods Dream? I don't think I dreamt at all last night, though I know for certain I was somewhere far away. I don't think I dreamt at all last night, though I was abed, but not on these sheets. No, certain I was spread across the palms of a pair of soft, leaf-white hands, cupped and paired like turtle doves. I lay limp on the petal-smooth surface, rolling from one palm to the other, swaying my head left, right, a yogic sequence, and my long fine hair splay as my ivory body, bone thin in its nudity, blend with the blankness and the pallor of the supplicating prayer bead hands. I don't think I dreamt at all last night, though I remember this room, yet there was no ceiling. No, I gazed up at a blank, white, placid, gaseous void, a zephyr, undivided form, non-delimited being, gathering like mist, rolling in and out of itself like breathing, rising to form the figure of a face. The bones of cheeks, gray-white sunken eyes, and rose-red lips, red as blood, coming closer, closer, a fragrant breath, whispering a gentle, caressive breeze, ages forgotten prayers in the language of the long-dead Canaanites. And when eyes appeared from behind the fog as two moons burning, ensconced in a bed of clouds, my body was as silver, reflective, a lake, my heaving breaths smoking like incense up and up, congealing in a oneness with all the atmosphere. I don't think I dreamt at all last night, though I was ill-positioned. I do not recall there being a window here. No, when the winds had nudged me over to my side, I saw the east, a burning sun, a great forest of jasmine flower on a bed of old stones, crumbling. I saw parched and thirsty rivers. I saw pillars and monuments withered by time, great faces with wings reclaimed by vine and cypress, broken by tempest, stripped by bandits, hacked by thieves, and all of them wet, as if a fount, as if a spring within the earth was blood. The red sun burned, but I could not look away. I smelt smoke and fire and tasted mother's tears. I felt the heat, perspiration pooling on my white, delicate, steaming skin. I don't think I dreamt at all last night, though I cannot recall this cherrywood armoire or the oil-painted canvas, nor the unevenness of the plaster and the creases of this wall. No. When the heat and the flames and the sun of the east began to mar my frail position, those great hands shifted me and turned my sights to the west, where I saw the never-ending sea in all its vastness, its promise, its opportunity, and its unforgivability, its penchant for calamity, its terribleness. I saw great ships, excavators, and oil riggings, and they were spilling from them a blackness, seeping, pouring, gushing, springing faster, 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 turning the deep blue of the surface that hides its delicate world from the cruelty of the air of man's, darker, darker, and darker, until in the distance I saw flames dancing. Fire, rapturous it was. It entranced me, and after a time, all I knew had lit ablaze. I don't think I dreamt at all last night, for I could not have believed in rooms or boxes or luxuries. Only fire. Fire to the west, fire to the east, and that mysterious, enchanting unknown above. A mother's lips, echoes of prayer, mantras of safety, and below my person the flowery surface of skin, the garb of blood and nerves and bone and sinew, where seeds are planted, where hearts are molded in nativity. I don't think I dreamt it all last night, for sleepless I was for sure. So answer me, why? Why does this waking haunt me? Why do I feel the fire closing in, while for everyone else there is not even an atom's weight of change? Thank you very much. Okay, so I have one that's a work in progress, and I figure this is a good crowd to try it on. It's actually in response to a calling from the University of Michigan Ann Arbor's Michigan Quarterly Journal. They have a piece that they're looking at doing an edition that is focused on the subject of water and its geopolitical, how it's used geopolitically, or how it's used in cultures sort of mythically, and in ways that they can focus on sort of the water crisis and the environmental crisis that's going on in the world. And as right now we're experiencing the Lebanese revolution that we talked about, a lot of that is in response to environmental issues. And I'd like to touch on that and try to do a little bit of a juxtaposition here. So again, it's a work in progress, and this is very rough. So please, if you would allow me. What is that? Yeah, you're fine. I will. I'm going to edit it very much, though, just so you know. It's called, well, right now the working title is Dreams of Water. I believe that you have inherited from your forefathers an ancient dream, a song, a prophecy. Hold on before I start. Okay, so I want to also tell you that the purpose is, this is a documentation poem. So I am using texts from other places that are not me, interspersed with my own lyric voice. So I'm using Khalil Gibran, of course, who shaped a lot of my idea of what Lebanon is and what Arab Americans are through reading. And then I'm also using an actual report of the environmental state of Lebanon at this time. Okay, Dreams of Water. I believe that you have inherited from your forefathers an ancient dream, a song, a prophecy, which you can proudly lay as a gift of gratitude upon the lap of America. I believe that you can say to the founders of this great nation, here I am, a youth, a young tree whose roots were plucked from the hills of Lebanon, yet I am deeply rooted here, and I would be fruitful. Khalil Gibran, 1926. It's a disaster to live here. Verily, there are parts of me today that still cannot speak. Separated by birth, the linguistic barrier border wall, the formulation of communicable sound and tone, verbal non-acquiescence, guttural stop veils, one is here and one, I like to think, passes over me, like so many clouds, growing heavy with my life's absorption, living in the skies. A disaster. Verily, American living demands no want of the English language more than a business tongue. I am demanded, by collar, by alarm, by state, the thick snow of emails, the myriad torrent of conference calls, meetings, checklists, coordination efforts, I channel and assume. Verily, I survive by words, spoken, written, swallowed, forgotten, recalled. Verily, work as a lifestyle, schooling as premeditated, obligatory preparation. It's a disaster to live here. Verily, a disaster. She stated it directly as the first thing, first response, first retort, first effect, first meeting, two pairs of eyes, one Occident, one Orient, both romanticizing an elsewhere fantasy that only somewhat exists. Verily, it's a disaster to live here. Verily, I was marveling at the whole of Lebanon at night. My first vision of the open sky, Rafik Hariri Airport, the sloping hills around Beirut, how the lights from all the homes in Shamoun, Shuaifat, Aramoun, jeweled in the distance like pearls and diamond thread in all their bounteous rows, laid on the bare sternum of the bride, her shoulders the mountains, her breasts the city, her face, her true beauty, yet hidden by stars. Verily, this is my Lebanon. It's a disaster to live here. In Fnaidak, in the north, this dump has been polluting the main water source of the village since the mid-1990s. Even if dumping should stop now, the trash will continue to pollute the resource. It's a disaster to live here. El Isbayle, the trash. Look behind us. Look behind us. Look at the fire up there towards Beit Shama. They are burning trash up there. Where are the municipalities? Where is the government? It's a disaster to live here. Verily, her perspective. Verily, the pervasiveness of its meaning, corruption, mismanagement, theft, and the way it trickles down as snow melts from the peaks in spring, forms the rills and rivulets the way they leap in bows, feed the valleys with song, or the clanging of metals, or the ringing of the trucks at work, or dumping. Verily, the dumping. In Nahar Salib, you can see a scar on the landscape where nothing will grow over 30 years after trash was dumped down the side of the valley in the Civil War. Verily, the dumping. It's a disaster to live here. Verily, my perspective. It's a disaster to live here. Verily, I say to you that an olive plant in the hills of Lebanon will outlast all of your deeds and your works, that the wooden plow pulled by the oxen in the crannies of Lebanon is nobler than your dreams and aspirations. I say to you, while the conscious of time listened to me, that the songs of a maiden collecting herbs in the valley of Lebanon will outlast all the uttering of the most exalted prattler among you. Khalil Gibran. It's a disaster to live here. Verily, my father will not dance the debke at my wedding. He will not swing the mesbahah for my zeffeh. Somewhere along the way, tradition was lost. Verily, this exile is 2 generations, self-imposed. Verily, when did you come to America? My father was born here. Have you been to Lebanon? Yes. Wain Betruh. Verily, the Arabic was simple. Where did you go? I hesitate. Recall my lessons. Think in flashcards. Look left to my fiancé. She responds, his mother's American. Verily, shame. That evening, bedside moleskin, I write down all the places in Lebanon I went or even could remember. Hamra, Harisa, Halay, Juni, Jbel, Bsheri, Baalbak, Alak, Shkif, Tibnin, Mlita, Jaita, Saida, Bint Jbel, Ras Al Ain, Hermel, Jamaize, Badaro, Kurat Al Sauda, Al Ain. It's a disaster to live here. Verily, this is a language my father left behind. I reproach him. I reproach me. Most of all, I reproach me for my failing to scrape the mirror of this existence with a diligent sequence and chord, reveal that which is already my right, my name, my blood, inherent in my dreams, behind but one more act of unveiling, morphe, the pith beneath my shell. Verily, I have dreams, ludic, fantastical, where I am misted and robed by the elements, above water, always water, as a boat floats in stillness, a distinct being, coarse cloak, singing in the old language, and never in my life has my lifeblood locked in understanding with anything the way I understand that Arabic, the way I understand that construction, arrangement, mood, that song. A disaster. Verily, my grandfather, Jiddu, was the lake, and we, the many who came from him, were the springs and the pools in this country. It's a disaster to live here. The Litani is the country's longest river and its most important. It provides water to the Baqa, Lebanon's breadbasket. The Litani has been polluted by towns and villages. In recent years, the river has also received the waste from Syrian refugees. Further downstream, farmers use water polluted by industry, pesticides, fertilizer, trash, and human excrement to irrigate their crops. It's a disaster to live here. We tested the quality of water. We took samples of the water seeping from the trash. We found all types of bacteria that should not be found in water. مش لازم بتكون موجودة بالماء. That should not be found in water. Following the heat wave, with temperatures hitting 30 degrees and rainfall, the count reached 2,000 trillion bacteria per milliliter of water. There is a big chance that the bacteria and the high bacterial count infiltrated the groundwater. It's a disaster to live here. Indeed, we found heavy metals in water. For example, we found mercury, copper, lead, cadmium, chrome, and nickel. We examined the soil that is irrigated using this water and planted with vegetables and fruits. We found traces of the same heavy metals. We also tested for nickel and chrome in parsley and mint. The amounts found were 10 and 30 times above the allowed level for human consumption. It's a disaster to live here. Verily, I dream of childhood, your garden, parsley, yes, mint, yes, and rows of long cucumber, green and red juicy tomatoes, yellow peppers with the hottest seeds, pear and fig trees, your hands rough to touch, rough with work, my hands, the scent of earth. Verily, you are walking, the hills of the south, picking fruit ripe from the green terraced trees. The earth is red beneath your feet. The sun is beating on your brow. The harvest is plentiful. Your mother calls you in. There is wara anib or mukhiyya on the stove. The house is the same. On the road with the stair, I imagine it hasn't changed much. The land of the prophets, milk and honey. Verily, the land of milk and honey. It is not only human health that is impacted by the pollution. To prevent his bees from consuming the Litani's polluted waters, beekeeper Muhammad Ajami set up a tank and a dispenser with clean water near his hives. Verily, the land of milk and honey. It's a disaster to live here. A woman holds a cardboard sign at a village protest, in Arabic, from Quran. We made every living thing from water. It's a disaster to live here. Verily, is Bailey as an export? Is Bailey as a motif? Is Bailey as an art form? Is Bailey as a concept? Is Bailey as... Tell me it's a dream. Verily, a whole nation's tears turn the Arab milky. Verily, ache. It's a disaster to live here. We have to make sure that our rivers and lakes are not a dump site, a disaster. Verily, the water is corrupted. The land is sick, ailing. White phosphorus drops from plains, warfare unaccounted. We are a neglected people. I too have neglected my people for life otherwheres. It's a disaster to live here. Verily, the land is sick. Jiddo, like you were in those last days. I still remember our final conversation, if one might call it that. Then, I did not even know to say salamtak. No, kifak jiddo. No, kif sahtak ya jiddo. No, shu am yujak jiddo. بدك ماي جدو بدك شي جدو بدك ماي بدك تاكل بدك قلبي أنا وروحي ودمي أنا دمي دمك وقلبي قلبك وحياتي حياتك. Can I give it to you? I owe you it all. I have too much life. Let me cut me and show you the way it oozes from my porous earthbound state. Take it from me. Close your tired eyes. Close them. وعيوني عيونك. Don't speak. صوتي صوتك. Just dream. وحلمك حلمي. I wish to go back in time just so I could be so selfish to ask you, please, please, please wait for me. Don't die now when I am too self-centered, vain, young, and ignorant to know you, to see in the cold mirror of time that rippled glass, myself in the sickbed, the strain, your face, myself and you. No, I had no basis then. I was wordless, silent, despite speech. In your ears, I was like another American movie on the television. Unintelligible, redacted speech. A disaster. Verily, too late. Verily, in the afterlife, when you ask me, عم تفهم علي؟ تقبر قلبي أكيد بفهم عليك. Verily, when you ask me if I know my land, verily I would say نعم جدو. I would root there without water. I would drink the earth, and I would be fruitful. Sorry, that was really long. Thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a good night.
Michael, that was beautiful, and you made us yearn for home even more. Thank you. Next up, we have stand-up comedy with Rafiq Barakat. Rafiq is from California. He started stand-up comedy in 2011, and he has a unique sense of humor. Please welcome Rafiq Barakat.
Arab American Museum, how are we? All right. Let's give a round of applause for Nada, Dr. Bawadi, and Michael, all the performers of today. Dr. Bawadi, I'm Syrian, so I was very looking forward to your talk. I like how you say we can't be white enough. You know, my teta, growing up in California, we had a lot of people around us, veterans, cowboys, fake cowboys. And she was like, Rafiq, don't ever be shy away from your Arab ethnicity. You should be proud to be Syrian. And I was like, thank you, Teta. And then 9/11 happened, and she was like, you're white. And I said, oh, okay. So I'll play guitar at the worship band in church. That sounds good. I also like how you said, what is it, Zionists, because of the Belfort Agreement, that kind of gave them the go-ahead. I don't like that, but I heard you say that. And it's kind of like, I don't know, Zionists read Free Palestine posts the same way Costco customers read free samples. It's like, oh, I'll take that. Does anybody want any? I'll take this, let me take this. Get it? No, I know you do. Well, come on. It's in these books, isn't it? I should do an audiobook. I want to combine the concept of Make-A-Wish Foundation and the show Chopped and call it Make a Dish, where you serve a last meal to a terminally ill child. The time clock would be like a heart monitor. can kind of see like the attitude of the kid. It needs a little more salt. Boo! American movies, right? You think you're garbage? Do you know how much work goes into a movie? An hour and a half? It takes months sometimes. I want to make an animated movie starring Sarah Silverman called Animated Frank. You know, just explores the story of Anne Frank, but like in a cute way. What's up, man? How are you? That's good. When was your last boxing match? No? You don't have one? Can I go to it? No? Never done MMA? No? Sweet. This is all being recorded, otherwise I'd get really into this. Yeah, Western Europe. What a colonial masterpiece, right? From what I know about the Crusades, I guess Western Europe decided to go to Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Jordan area, and kill all the Muslims and Jewish people and sell all the black Arabs to slavery, but kept the Christian churches, the Levants, alive and actually wanted to like build more. So God may have chosen the Jewish people, but Western Europe chose me. Hey, what's up? Was it worth it? Malik likes it. I like Malik. I like all of you, maybe. Let's see. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe I don't like you, Malik. Fudge. Someone told me not to cuss here, and I was like, why? And he's not even here anymore. Bro, what is your name, bro? Alec? Alid? I thought, no, I'll say your name correctly. My name is Rafiq, you know. It means good friend. Did anyone know that? Sometimes I live up to it. Some days I don't. My best friend is a garbage can named Topher, actually. That's my best friend. Because Topher knows everything about my life. Topher knows my used toilet paper. Topher knows my tissues every time I ever cried. Topher knows my used condoms. Basically, everything that comes out of me goes into Topher. Topher knows all of that stuff. And Topher will keep a secret. Let's say I'm vegan and I have McDonald's. Topher will let me reorganize his apartment so I can hide it from anybody holding me accountable. Is that what friends do? This is all going to be scrapped, by the way. We're not going to keep any of this. Right, Wassam? Yeah, I know. All right. Cool. Hello. What's up? Hey, how are you? That's all everybody gives me. What's up? That's it. You ain't gonna know anything else. I'm good. How are you? We could do this for a long time. We can. You're from here? Dearborn? Oh, really? West Virginia? Regular Virginia? Yeah. Do you know the story behind West Virginia? You should, I think. Do you know California might be split into 3 different parts? North, South, and Central? Yeah? So that's probably what happened with West Virginia, partition. She did know. Poker face. Poker face. Yeah. So yeah, anglicizing, right? Forces always try to anglicize me growing up. But if you can't handle me on my Latin, you don't deserve me on my Rafiki, you know? Wise. Oh, sweet. Second angle. Yeah, so, Nada, how's it going? That's good. Huh? What was that? Oh, what's up? Hey, what's up? I'm so used to it. Used to many encounters like this. So I feel right at home, is what I'm really trying to say. Well, I don't want to take too much time. I feel like I've gave you all enough? No. You guys want to hear more like Arab jokes or like my jokes? Do I care what you think? I'm asking myself out loud to all of you. My car's turning signal went off the other day, so I had to learn manual turning signals. Does anyone know the manual turning signals? Yeah? What's stop? Do you know stop? You don't know how to stop? You're just driving. I don't know what to do. This one, and stop. Right, left, and stop. And I had to make a right turn the other day in Detroit. And I think the car that was behind me thought I was throwing up the Black Power symbol. And then I cut that car off like immediately after. So I don't know if that like helps or hurts. Not sure. When I was in Ferndale, I made my left turn like this, you know? And when I end comedy shows, I basically do them like this. Thank you guys so much. My name is Rafiq Barakat.
Next up is this on? Can you hear me? There we go. Now, okay. Next up, we have open mic. If you haven't signed up, please do. First up, we have Mariam Jaber, and she will perform Ties and Orange and Bathroom Window. Please give it up to Mariam.
Hello. Gosh. That's so close. Okay. Hi. Geez. Well, my name is Mariam. I came from Fortson. I'm a sophomore, and I guess I'm gonna be reciting some poetry. The first one's called Ties. It's basically, I wrote it when I was in the summer of 8th grade. I was going 9th grade, and high school is a big deal. You do lose a lot of people on the way, and sometimes it's a relief, sometimes it's not. I was like a cattle grazing the fields when you stole me, committing an act, a crime of abaction. You only do it when you're weak, and I'm happy, much to your satisfaction. You can change my happy, stable mind to one of petrification. I'll admit that I used to show apathy towards you. This must be your contradiction. I don't have anything to give you. You were expecting benefaction. You didn't help. I was the one lost, and you thought fake sympathy would give you a comfort ab reaction. So don't come up to me asking me for help when you're weak. I won't accept this transaction. And don't come up to me thinking that leaving would harm me, because it'll only have a positive effect, much to your subtraction. I did say that I'd always be here for you at first, but know that you caused my retraction. It's funny that you thought I wouldn't realize I was being taken advantage of, that there wouldn't be a reaction. If you really need something to rely on and show you the real world, use this as your distraction. There's nothing good about a dirty, lying, abusive friend that will ever scream attraction. You removed me from your group portrait, your excuse being you needed abstraction. I'm fine with that, just know that you are the one to lose me. I don't come back, not a piece of me, not a fraction. This is me making society aware of your mistakes, so remember that your social decline was your own action. This one's called Orange. I actually wrote it more recently. It's a little bit longer. And it's basically identity. Imagine being an orange, named by the color of your exterior, named by what is seen on the outside. Why couldn't you be called something fancy, like Broctel? Why isn't a lime called green, cherries called red, bananas called yellow? Why are you the only one called a color? You know, pomegranate has a nice feel to it. It's pronounced multiple ways, feels like it means literally nothing, but seems to hold many mysteries. I want to be pomegranate. I have a hard shell, a semi-soft layer, hard roundish seeds in me that could either explode with bitterness or a sweet flavor. I want to be the bittersweet pomegranate. No, I want to be a lemon. I want to look so bright. I want to look so happy. I want people to let me add that needed flavor to a hangout like lemon adds flavor to a salad. I want to be the color of the sun, spread light over my friends, and still be able to tell harm that if it squeezes me too much, I will be the most sour thing to exist. I'm the happy sour lemon. But actually, that's wrong. I'm only going to be an apple. That's me. I'm an apple, I have a boring ring to my name, and I'm overrated. I had my time to shine, and the people that still enjoy me are the real ones. I come in yellow, green, red, almost a literal purple. I have no restrictions. I'm happy yellow, sick and tired green, angry and destructive red, calm and mysterious purple. I'm this crunchy thing that you probably hate, and I might get stuck in your teeth, but you love and enjoy me too much to throw me away. I may look horrendous to a few, but my sweetness is noticed by some. I'm the horrendously looking but sweet apple. Imagine being an orange, though. You're orange, the second layer is orange, everything is orange. Your name and looks represent nothing about what you're made of. You're so sweet, but you could come off easily as bitter, disgusting, and tasteless. Why couldn't you be Broctel? But can't imagine me being an apple. Well, I am an apple. Can't imagine being an orange. That one's done. Thank you. This one's relatively short. I wrote it just before coming to school this year. I don't necessarily like summer. I like winter, but comes with, yeah. Nights in my home aren't cliche with the noise of a ticking clock. It's more of a night of walking past a bathroom window that's opened, hearing the neighbor's door lock. This occurrence isn't this one-night thing, not only on Sundays. It's an every-night thing that comes with a bittersweet smell if it rains. The bad thing about me enjoying the bathroom window sounds is that I get attached and then I feel lonely during the winter months. The closing of that window makes me feel weak and invalid. I grow attached to things that leave and I can't adapt to change, like a runt. But on the days of the open bathroom windows, I'm on top of the world, and the nighttime feels sweeter than molasses. Why does my favorite season of the winter have to make me feel deaf and blind, rid of my glasses? Goodbye.
Yes, please come again. It's talents like you that make me love Dearborn Open Mic and this part of it. Next up, we have Jumana Al-Talal. Is that correct? Performing Hair. Please welcome Jumana.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Nada, thank you for organizing and emceeing. What a beautiful night. I actually just have a short poem that I'll read today. It's about heartbreak and neo-soul and watching the protests in Iraq, all while cutting hair somehow. So this is Hair. You are seated in a cheap lawn chair in the middle of my bathroom. This will become a poem about a flung tear gas canister, but first, your hair. The weight of stainless steel clippers in my hand, a countertop strewn with half a dozen plastic trimming guards, the shower rug pushed to the hall. D'Angelo's voice aching through us, I am bent over you, combing the tight of your curls. I am bent over the root of you. A root, D'Angelo cries. I ask which guard to use first, and you answer. I plant myself to the buzz of the clippers, the soft clouds of hair. Before the gas begins to choke Iraqis in Tahrir Square, there is only this. You, showered, freshly cut, dancing in the living room, the meaningless, the insignificant. On a video I did not want to watch, a man cries, "Look at the wind, look at the tear gas. It's a hair away from us." Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jumana. Next up, please give it up to Ali Subah performing New Beginning.
So what's up, everyone? So the past few months, I've been working on a musical album, and this is one of the songs off it. It's the whole album really is about climbing out of a depression. This song in particular is about giving myself a chance to have a new beginning, rather than when I could have had the chance to end it. You know, and everyone deals with mental health and suicide. Mental health is really important to me. And everyone experiences it on like some level. Sometimes it's just a thought, and some people actually attempt, and everything in between. So this is actually unreleased. No one heard this before. You guys are the first people that get to hear it. So that's pretty cool. So let's go. Depression is very real, and I'm not no man of steel, just a broken heart waiting to heal. Depression is consuming the body. These thoughts are bullets from a shoddy, bullets that are loud and dangerous. We often hear life is like a waitress. You ask and it will serve you, but you've asked and asked, life seems to curve you. I'm only sharing what I've observed. At times I feel like I just need to reverse, just some time to unwind the clutter. At this moment in time, speech is met with stutter. Are you afraid to speak what's been haunting you, and the obstacle ahead is dawning? I know the feeling well, a bird locked in a cell. It feels as so. Where's my life chaperone? In this field trip you would expect some guidance, instead we're met with neglect. Do you see the ripple effect? And we're met with neglect, and that's a ripple effect. That's a ripple effect. We gon' be alright. We gon' make a meal. Just hold tight and just stay still. Yeah, we gon' be alright. We gon' make a meal. And we gon' make a meal. Soaking all the hits, no matter how hard it gets. I can't die out. I've took some time out to hide out, but here I am stronger, hoping the buzz stays longer. Who I was used to ponder on every bit of detail. That's what led me to fail, but it must be part of the process to prevail. Overthinking is a destructive habit, thoughts jumping like rabbits. Love oneself should get tatted all across my forehead, something to remind me before bed. 2 a.m. and my mind races like a Corvette. I dial the suicide hotline, put my vulnerability on the front line. Either this or I run out of lifetime. The woman speaks and I am left quiet. Should I tell her about my depression or should I hide it? I go ahead and tell her my case, but with tears running down my face. Explaining to her it feels like I'm only running in place. And it feels like I'm only running in place. We gon' be alright, we gon' make a meal. Just hold tight and just stay still. Yeah, we gon' be alright. We gon' make a meal. We gon' make a meal. She replies, knowing there's tears in my eyes. Kid, you don't gotta die. Take a deep breath, I'm here by your side. At that moment, weak as my pride, I let it all out, the pain and the darkness. Sharing my thoughts, even the darkest. She puts back her heart in the heartless. I stay in bed, dealing with the sorrow. Give it until tomorrow. Stepping into a new portal. Yeah, this is a new beginning. Maybe this is a new beginning. A new beginning. This is a new beginning. That's pretty much it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, baby. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ali. Next up, we have music performance by Danny, Mahmoud, and Malik. They are a trio from Dearborn. They have been together for a year and have been able to create the music they have always wanted. Their sound is an eclectic array of jazz, alternative with a whole lot of soul. They are all about syncopation, and their favorite part about it is their love for the music. Please welcome Danny, Mahmoud, and Malik. So they're gonna set up and then they will perform. If you wanna take some 5 minutes. Thank you.
I love your post, bro. I just followed you on Instagram. I'm a fan. A lot of people think
So we have, what is the mic hooked up to? Okay, can we plug in, we have a pedal, like a reverb pedal. Yeah, go ahead. So I'm gonna have to turn this off and then like we have cake to off for it. Sure.
Thank you for making me remember.
Also, can we maybe move that
Yeah, sure. Poems, like while you're saying them, I'm like, bro, I wish I was doing the decorative. I'm guys making me miss my culture, bro.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not finessing when there's a gap, and you always try to reach for something, man. And I didn't go back to the open stuff. When I went, though, it changed my life.
Do you need a mic?
Yeah, we can use that one, but I have to. Is it Bluetooth?
Sorry?
Is it Bluetooth?
Next to this.
But how's it?
I might take. Can I take that shirt?
Sure.
Thank you.
Do you need something to set up this on? Is this a DJ?
No, I just need a power source.
Sure.
You need help with anything?
Do you have a stool, actually?
Yeah, sure. What kind? Is that table would work?
Like a stool I could sit on.
Yeah, sure.
I know a bunch of friends that as soon as they feel that way, we go to that. We on
What's up? Oh, yeah. So, can you grab me the mic out of the small app over there? We're putting in vocal outtakes. I don't know. We're not gonna use it.
Tell me what I need to do so we can get the shit done.
We need that.
Okay, so can I help you with anything?
Can you start hooking up this pedal? There's a power. Where's the? That's the adapter for it.
Okay.
For sure.
Power cable. Anything for your program?
Just a few things. Oh, right here is good.
There's one plug there though. I need it.
We just need that. We just need one.
Once it goes out.
Do you have like anything that you want to promote, like your social media or website?
No.
Yeah, I have my social media.
Okay.
So good people.
Yeah, no problem.
No, I'm good. It's gonna take us like 5 minutes.
Try to say it. Alright, I think it's in, but it's not on. Oh, I got it. It's on now. Check you have it on. Is that good?
I'm just doing
That's the name of the band?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
No.
Hell yeah. Donnie Darko.
Donnie.
Not Darko. Darko. Alright, we're plugging the shit into, bro. We're good.
Yeah, okay, so that one goes in the back.
I got it. Us. Anything else, or is this the only thing?
No, I just need this other mic cable real quick. I obviously don't know how to manage cables.
Yeah, you clearly don't. Superman taught me so well how to wrap shit up in a bundle. That's what it is, though.
What?
We used to play band, you know?
I wish I knew you guys. Bro,
Hey, you have to do this band is named after you.
Thank you so much.
So you don't need this
What
mic?
else?
Where's the other end of this thing? Right here.
Okay, hold on.
Good luck.
I watched it on live because I was outside.
Okay, I can't wait.
That's it.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much.
What else, bro? Hold on.
There you go.
Where does that go?
goes into the amp.
The amp?
Yes.
Okay. Into the inputs? Yes.
Yes, sir.
There you got it. What if I somehow like didn't plug the shit up correctly?
Okay, just make sure the volume is down on the amp.
Zane, can you hold this?
Yes, it is, I believe.
Okay. That's when you can start.
It's not powered in though.
I know. Here.
This thing?
Or the.
Let's play this one. Alright, what else? How do my biceps look? Yes. Oh, this thing is cool. I didn't know this was here.
Okay, so now we're gonna do some testing. So you have the mic?
No.
Who has the mic? Okay.
Oh, yeah, let me see it. That's great.
Okay, get away from the speaker. So stand up.
Over there.
Just say testing. Just say testing.
Testing. You want to do this?
Yeah, sure.
We just need a test.
You want me to actually sing or just talk?
Just say anything. Doesn't matter.
Just say test.
Yeah. Test.
Can you give me one like singing melody?
Yeah.
Something louder.
So call out my name. Is that good?
Solid.
Is that enough for you?
Is it? Yeah.
I asked for a stool. Oh, it's right there. I'm gonna use that stool.
Yeah, that's fine. Oh, you're standing?
So, just stand on the left.
Side?
And I'll stand back. Yeah, come closer. Just imagine we're in the basement. Breathe.
You're gonna go to help?
Oh yeah, so we're doing Ghost Rider first. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Good. Not bad at all. We're called Donnie, and we're just gonna go ahead. This is Mahmoud. That's Simon right there. It's good to meet you guys, and thanks for having us. Donnie. And this song is called "End of the Day." We released it, I think, 2018. So yeah. And I know how it feels just to live this way. Talk down like I've got nothing going for me. 'Cause all the things you're doing and everything you said never really mattered at the end of the day. That's just how it is when you live this way, living in a world where you got no say. Yeah, the path is harder than it really seems, but don't let no one stop you while you're chasing your dreams.
yeah. While you're chasing your dreams, whoa. And I know how it feels just to live this way, being talked down like I've got nothing going for me, 'cause of all the things you're doing and everything you said never really mattered at the end of the day.
So that's that for that. Thank you. Thank you. For this song, it's do you wanna?
What, do you want to know or? Oh, sure.
Is it good?
Yours. Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, hold this for a second.
Two tunes while he's not in. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
This is one of our original songs. It's called Ghost Rider. We haven't released it yet, so if you guys do record, just please keep it to yourselves. Just because we haven't released it, we haven't gotten a date. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed.
I ride these streets at midnight, hoping everything is alright. Gears shifting, and I'm flying by. Mama said, don't you fly. I said, I wanna touch the sky. Godspeed, 'cause I wanna die. I ride these streets at midnight, hoping everything is alright. Gears shifting, and I'm flying by. Mama said, don't you fly. I said, I wanna touch the sky. Godspeed, 'cause I wanna die. He wiped me out, mama. He wiped me out, mama. He hit me hard, mama. He broke my bones, mama. I was so cold, mama. I tried to get up, but I was hurt, mama. Her body flew in the air, couldn't make a sound after my body hit the ground. Blood all over, felt like a broken soldier. This hit me in the core, got my body feeling sore. I guess pain is what I adore. Should've listened before I shut the door. I screamed for an angel, but the devil approached me. And my mind is over, but my body wants closure. Please tell me this is all over. All over. All over. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. All over, yeah, yeah.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. As you can see, we're a little, we just started out, so this is our first performance ever. And yeah, thank you guys for accepting us and listening to us. No, not yet. Yeah. Just SoundCloud, that's about it. What's your SoundCloud? I'll give it to you in a second, yeah. Sorry, I was a little shaky, by the way, too. Yeah, no problem. Oh, yeah, no problem. Here, so, sorry, I'm new to all of this.
So the first song, End of the Day,